we're going to learn about the nervous system. And I want to first review past systems that we've looked at so we don't forget about them. The comments I've gotten from many of you is that review is actually very helpful, and that when we don't review, you forget, and that makes you human. And when we review, that's just called studying. That's how you study, right? You keep going over the information over and over and over again. I want to do that, and then I also want to frame the discussion. You know how I like to frame the discussion and kind of why are we learning about the nervous system, and why does it matter, and just what is it in its most basic terms? You know, if you had to explain it to a 5-year-old, what is it? Because I always use that example because I actually think 5-year-old understanding is perfect for a lot of stuff, right? You're not going to be a neurosurgeon, but you really do need to understand the nervous system, just the concept of it. But let's review old systems really quickly. Not old systems, but systems that we have already talked about. Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Miss Cooper, you were kind enough as to nod, which I really appreciate, to acknowledge what I'm saying. Yeah. Miss Cooper, can you name a system that we've already discussed?
The integumentary system.
The integumentary system. Yes. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Miss Nguyen, what makes up the integumentary system? I'm asking you because I like to ask this question to you a lot, apparently. Miss Nguyen. Oh, you left. Was that hard a question? All right. Miss Cooper, you're back in. Sorry, Miss Nguyen ran away. I don't think she realizes she did. Oh, there she is. Hi, Miss Nguyen. You disappeared. Now we can see your pretty face. You are just in time for a surprise, Miss Nguyen. Will you please tell us what's the integumentary system? What makes up the integumentary system? Like, what's the stuff that makes it up?
Maybe nail, skin, hair.
Yeah! Done. Thank you. That's what I want to see. Cool, cool, cool. The integumentary system is the hair, skin, and nails. Yeah. And Ms. Torres, tell us some wonderful things that the integumentary system does for us.
It provides protection. It creates vitamin D.
Yep.
It has sensory.
Yeah.
And regulates temperature.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were the top ones that I thought of. That's really good. So it provides protection, right? It really does keep germs out of your body and things like this. Otherwise, massage therapists would get sick all the time, right? But you can actually touch somebody with your hands. And if you don't stick your hands in your mouth or your eyes and you go wash them afterwards, you're pretty safe. Massage therapists don't get sicker than anybody else. So skin is an amazing barrier. It does produce vitamin D, which you need to live, and you get that from the sun and your skin working together. Very, very important. All your sensory organs, not all of them, that's a lie. Many of your sensory nerves are in your skin so that you can feel things and that you know you're not dreaming, and you can actually massage people, and you know you can caress a baby and punch a gorilla or whatever. You know, you've got this kind of way to moderate your force and all this kind of stuff. And heat regulation, temperature regulation, right? I can sweat. When I get hot, I make droplets of water in my body. They evaporate, and that cools me off. And I've also got fat, quite a bit, in my integumentary system, and that insulates me and keeps me warm. Yeah, so all really good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. That was a really good answer. Miss Stanley, what is the integumentary system?
It is the system that consists of your hair, skin, and nails.
Hair, skin, and nails, sure. Awesome. And why do we have it? What's it good for?
Mostly protection.
Mostly protection, and tell me a couple other things.
There is like a temperature control. It insulates you. It protects you from like dirt, I guess. Without
Sure.
it, you'd
Germs.
be getting infected with a lot of things.
Yes, you would. And you'd bleed out, yeah. Does it produce a vitamin?
Yeah.
Which one? Pick A through Z. But just pick one.
Vitamin C.
How about D?
D.
D. Vitamin D. Cool. And sensory stuff. Did you say sensory already? Like touch? Maybe.
Not really, I guess,
Okay.
technically.
All right, cool. Thank you, ma'am. Miss Hunter, I like to call on you because you just put food in your mouth, and I just feel it's funny to call on you now. So, Miss Hunter, while you're chewing with little bits of food falling out of your mouth, because I would like that too, can you tell me what the integumentary system is and what it's good for?
The integumentary, and I can't say that word, but anyway, the system. It is hair, skin, nails, and I do believe it controls their temperature and vitamin D production and sensors.
Yep, sensory stuff, sure.
Heat control.
Yep, yep, twice heat control.
Oh, did I say heat control already?
Something like it, or temperature control. Yeah, we'll take it.
I don't. Is that it?
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned, because it all gets mixed up in my mind too, but it's your body's like main barrier of defense, right?
Oh,
It's the
barrier.
first line of defense. That's what I should say. First line of defense against the outside world. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, if I peel off, well, actually, hold on one second, because I'm about to peel off the integumentary system, which means I'd be peeling off 3 layers, and I've got to talk to my layers expert. Miss Hanson, what are the 3 layers of the skin?
Hypodermis, dermis, and I cannot say that word.
Subcutaneous?
It's subcutaneous, yes, or hypodermis, or superficial fascia.
That was fantastic. And by the way, I don't mean to pick on you. I just remember which stuff you guys have a hard time with, so I go back to you over and over again. That's just kind of review. Please don't ever take it. It is personal, but it's good. It's meant to be kind and personal. Awesome. And fun. It's meant to be funny, too. After a while, it becomes the running joke in the class, because 8 months from now, you're still going to be like subcutaneous, because it's just, you'll probably have a mental block to it, just like I keep saying multifitty. Okay, thank you. The 3 layers of the skin. Yes. So that's awesome. Miss Monreal, what were the 3 layers of the skin? She looks so glamorous. Anyway, what are the 3 layers of the skin? Miss Monreal? I can't.
Get my mic. Okay.
Oh, there we go. We got you. Top layer.
Dermis.
Well, top layer is what?
I don't know. Is it the dermis?
There's one above that. That's the middle layer.
Okay, so let me just start by saying that I wanted to ask one of my questions when Ms. Hansen was saying the layers, because I get confused to which ones are the top layers and then lower. So is it the epidermis?
Epidermis is on top. Yeah.
Okay. And then what is the hypodermis?
That's on bottom.
And then what is the subcutaneous? What is that?
That's the hypodermis by a different name.
By a different name. Okay, and then underneath the subcutaneous would be the superficial fascia?
No, that's the subcutaneous and hypodermis by a different name.
Oh,
Yeah.
why do you guys have to be so confusing? Okay, so
Oh, us guys, like I made the anatomy words. Yeah.
yes. Okay, so let me go back to the top. So it is the dermis?
No.
Okay. All right. Why don't you enlighten me?
You had it right the first time. All right, it's epidermis,
Okay, epidermis,
dermis,
dermis,
hypodermis.
hypodermis.
Hypodermis. Hypodermis is like Tapscott. But another name for Tapscott is Mike, and that would be subcutaneous. But another name for Mike is that weird dude over there, and that would be superficial fascia. So like we've got their nicknames. I mean
So
that's not really true, but
last one is the only one who has the other names then?
yeah. And I only make a big deal out of it because those names imply some things that I really like. Like calling it hypodermis is kind of cool because hypo means under, and so you've got the epidermis on top, dermis, hypodermis. That makes a lot of sense to me. Superficial fascia means the top layer of fascia, and I want you guys to recognize that the bottom layer of skin is the topmost layer of fascia. That we're starting to get down into fascial layers. And so that's why I make a big deal out of it. And subcutaneous I like to just keep bringing up because it seems to be hard for Miss Hansen to say, and that's adorable. So I just keep nailing that one. I don't even know if it's important. Yeah. So anyway, 3 layers of skin. 3 layers. By the way, now the epidermis has 5 layers inside it and all this stuff, but I'm not even worrying about that. We're not estheticians. Okay. It's not a big deal. But my estheticians out there could probably name all 5 layers of the epidermis alone because it has all these layers. Okay. Anyway, and essentially the top layer of skin is dead. Your skin kind of grows up and it dies, but that's your waterproofing layer. And then eventually those cells slough off, and that's most of the dust in your house, believe it or not, is your skin cells. Anyway, okay, so 3 layers of skin, thank you. Thank you. Does that answer your question too, Miss Monreal?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you'll probably be calling on me from now on since it was so confusing to me.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well,
okay.
let's just, since I've got you on the line, let's just summarize everything we just talked about. What is the integumentary system?
Hair, skin, and nails.
Cool. Some people, by the way, that is 100% the answer I want, but some people will also say the glands and stuff that the skin, contains.
Okay.
But that hair, skin, and nails is the perfect answer. Hair, skin, and nails. All right. And what does it do for us?
It helps with body temperature. It produces vitamin D. It is our first line of defense barrier against the outside world. And I feel like there's one more thing.
Vitamin D. Oh, sensory.
Sensory, yes.
Yeah, it lets you sense stuff. Cool. So so heat, by the way, what are the 2 ways it helps you with temperature control?
Well, like sweating if you're too hot.
Right?
And then if you're too cold, I think like it cuts off the stuff to like your arms.
Well, that's probably circulatory system, but it's insulation.
Oh, okay.
It's insulation for sure.
Insulation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, that.
And you are right, by the way, you are on the right track that your body can open up very tiny blood vessels in your skin to radiate heat out, or it can shut those blood vessels down in your skin to kind of keep your heat inside. Okay, so that was awesome. You did really good there. What are the 3 layers of skin now, Miss Monreal?
Oh, shoot. Okay. Is it epidermis? Or am I already wrong?
No.
Let me go from the bottom.
No. Well, all right, go for the bottom. I don't care.
Okay. The superficial fascia, which is also called subcutaneous.
Yep, keep going.
I think there's one more word for it, right?
What is that?
Not the other word.
Why do they call a hypodermic needle a hypodermic needle?
Okay. Hypodermis.
Yes, because it goes below the
Okay,
skin.
And then is it dermis and then epidermis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job. Cool.
All right.
That was stressful. Okay. All right, you did great. Good. So that's the integumentary system. Now we can rip that layer of skin off. And underneath it, I will find another system. Right? A system that we should all care about a lot. What is that system, Miss Yanez?
The muscular system?
Yes, the muscular system. Trying to think what question I want to ask you. There are 3 main types of muscle in your body. Do you know the names of those 3?
Cardiac, smooth, and skeletal.
That was 100% correct. Can you say it one more time just because I'm going to ask this question to other people? And yeah.
Cardiac, smooth, and skeletal.
And where would I find cardiac muscle?
Your heart.
That's right. That's all it is. Your heart muscle, right? And where would I find smooth muscle?
Is that like the lining, like your intestines and stuff?
Your intestines, believe it or not, your veins, your arteries around some organs. It allows you. It gives strength to some things, but it allows things to open and close too. So you can actually change the plumbing in your body. Wouldn't it be kind of cool? Have anybody ever showered when somebody's running the dishwasher and the shower gets cold or whatever, or that type of thing? Well, if your house was like your body, it could actually expand the pipes to get you more hot water to your shower and not have it run to the dishwasher. But your house is not like your body, right? Your pipes are set, but inside your body, they're not. So that's very cool. And where would I find skeletal muscle, Miss Giannis?
On top of your bone.
Yeah, attached to your skeleton. And what is the skeletal muscle used for?
It helps provide movement.
Thank you. Movement. Yeah. Helps motor you around. Motor muscle. Yeah, very good. That was awesome. Can you tell me anything else the muscular system does for you? Because by telling me the 3 types of muscle, you kind of told me what it does for me. Is there anything else the muscular system can do for you? Can it produce something? If you're cold.
Yeah, it helps with heat production.
It does help with heat production. It can actually produce heat. In fact, when you're shivering, that's your body trying to activate your muscles and heat you up. Cool. Is there anything else that I should have asked you about the muscular system that I'm forgetting to ask you? That's not a trick question. I can't think of anything else to ask you. I just thought you might be like, yeah, you always mention the blah, blah, blah. No? Are we good? You're feeling good? I'm feeling good about this discussion. I'll move on. Thank you, Miss Giannis. Thank you. Miss Harper. Miss Harper, what 3 types of muscles are found in the muscular system?
3 types of muscles. That's the cardiac, smooth, and skeletal.
Cool. Where would I find cardiac muscle?
To your heart.
Yeah, it is your heart, pretty much. Yeah. Where would I find smooth muscle?
It's in your veins or other organs.
Yeah, veins, arteries, other organs. Why would I care? And by the way, my esophagus, all sorts of stuff. But why would I have muscle wrapped around tubes in my body? What good would that do me?
For your protection.
Yes.
For movement or
Well, but why would I care about having muscle wrapped around my arteries and veins?
your
What?
for your movement or
Maybe more to control blood flow. So my body has the ability to have an artery be really wide open, or it can close it down and make it pretty small. Right?
okay.
Which is a really useful thing to be able to do. Because sometimes you want lots of blood flowing to an area. Sometimes you're freezing to death, and your body will close off blood to your extremities. Because it doesn't care if your arms get cold. It cares if your core temperature gets cold. Cool. And then skeletal muscle. Where do I find skeletal muscle? What does it do?
Mostly to your bones.
Yes, always to your bones. Actually, I guess you're right. No, I lied. You were right. I am wrong. There are things like facial expression muscles that are not attached to bones. Thank you. But they are for movement. Thank you. So, that's awesome. Is there anything else the muscular system can do for me?
Heat production.
Beautiful.
Protection.
That's beautiful. That's all I got. Yeah. You've maxed out my mental capacity right there. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's awesome. Cool. Okay, Mr. Kandaris.
Yes.
Have you had some chocolate?
No, but I've been walking around to stay awake.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So, by the way, it must be very hard to work nights and be like here in the morning. So I have a great deal of respect for that. And thank you for being awake, because I want to ask you to help us recap what we've done so far. First, we talked about the integumentary system. And what is the integumentary system, sir?
It is your skin, nails, and hair.
Yes.
follicles,
Yeah.
And for protection and sweating, and the 3 layers are your epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis.
Nice stuff. What are the other 2 names for my hypodermis?
So cutaneous and your something fascia.
Superficial fascia means the uppermost layer of fascia.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. The bottom layer of skin is the uppermost layer of fascia. That's awesome. And it also helps with sensory stuff and all that kind of stuff. That was really good. Thank you. So, and then can you tell us our muscular system, what are the 3 main types of muscle?
Cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, and smooth muscles.
Cool. Where would I find cardiac muscle?
In your heart.
Yep. Where would I find smooth muscle?
Places where skeletal muscle isn't.
Wow. That was good. You must be a good test taker. You'd be really good on essay tests. So around tubing in my body, right? Around tubing in my body, and that could be arteries and veins and
That would help like your digestive system.
yeah, because when you swallow, you can actually swallow upside down. Or let's look at people in outer space. They're actually able to swallow. So gravity's not doing it. What happens is actually they swallow and it goes and it squeezes the food on down. Yeah. So, and that's kind of the job of smooth muscle, is to control the size of tubing in your body. Very good. And where would I find skeletal muscle, sir?
Any attachments to bone.
Yeah. And what's its main job? Skeletal muscle.
Action, flexion, extension.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. Movement. Yes. Cool. Thank you, sir. That was awesome. Awesome. Continue your walk. That was great. Miss Nguyen, muscle can only do one thing. What's the one thing muscle can do?
Contract.
Contract. That's awesome. Miss Torres, do you remember the little contracting units inside the muscle, what they're called? Kind of little railroad train cars. What?
Filaments?
Filaments are inside these. Thank you. Thick and thin filaments are inside these. And the little contracting units are called, anybody?
Can you hear me?
What? No, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. What?
The thin filaments?
There are thin and thick filaments inside this contracting unit. What's this contracting unit called? Anybody? Sarcomeres. Sarcomeres. And they are, and you're right, Miss Torres, the sarcomere has thick and thin filaments inside it that kind of.
Sarcomeres?
Yeah, we'll take it. Sarcomeres. And you got thick and thin filaments in there. Do you remember the 2 proteins that make up the thick and thin filaments? I think you said actin, which is right. And I suspect you're saying myosin right now, even though we can't hear you because you froze. Actin and myosin. Cool. All right. Hey, Miss Felix Osuna. Hi. Miss Felix Osuna, we just covered a lot of stuff. I just got to review it really quick.
Actin.
You are correct, Miss Torres.
And
Myosin. Okay, so hold on, Miss Torres. Miss Felix Osuna, I want to review everything we just learned. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So we learned about the integumentary system. What's that system made up of?
That's the skin, glands, and hair and nails.
Perfect. I love that. What is it used for? What's it good for? What does it do for me?
For protection. protection, and temperature or heats it regulates the temperature.
Sure. Protection, temperature regulation.
I'm not sure what's the other one.
Sensory stuff. Right? That's why I'm
Sensory.
petting my face like a strange person right now. Sensory and vitamin what?
D.
D.
Right.
Cool. That was perfect. Yeah. No, it's great. And then the muscular system. Muscular system is made up of 3 different kinds of muscle. What are they?
The smooth.
Smooth.
Cardiac and
Sorry. Smooth, cardiac, and what?
skeletal.
Perfect. Where do I find the smooth?
That will be is it I'm not sure.
Okay.
I was on the phone with the hospital, so I wasn't really paying attention.
That's very honest. Thank you. So smooth is found around the tubing of your body. Things like arteries, veins, your esophagus, things that have to open and close a little bit. And that's its purpose, is to control the size of those openings and closings, and sometimes give strength to certain organs and things like that. But that's the smooth. Where would I find the cardiac?
Heart.
Yeah. And where would I find skeletal muscle, or what is skeletal muscle for?
Is that like the bones?
Yeah. Yeah. And why is it attached to bones? What does it do for me?
The movements. Right?
Yeah. Helps me move. Very, very cool. Last couple of questions. I'll leave you alone. Do you remember the contracting unit that's inside muscle? Because muscle can only do one thing, right? What's the one thing muscle can do?
Contract or shorten.
Thank you. If you guys leave with anything from this course, contract and shorten. Yeah, and it's got little contracting units in it, thousands of them, really. Do you remember what those units were called, little contracting units? Starts with an S.
The filaments?
Sarcomeres.
Oh, sarcomere.
And they have these thin and thick filaments in there. And do you remember what 2 proteins made those thin and thick filaments?
Yeah, actin and myosin.
Beautiful. Wow, for somebody on the phone, you did very well. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Okay. If I tear the muscle off underneath, I will find another system of hard, whitish things. What system would that be, Miss Stanley? What's the next system that we covered? Or the last system we covered?
Skeletal?
Skeletal, yes! Skeletal system. That's right. And what's the skeletal system good for?
It is good for keeping the body erect. It is good for, I think it's making, what was it, red blood cells?
And white, both.
And it makes both of them, okay.
Yeah.
And I think there was like one other thing. It helps you like also like move because your ligaments that are a part of it.
Yeah, good. It is the levers that your muscles act on. Yeah, the levers of your body. So support and protection for your organs, like your rib cage protects. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And produces red and white blood cells. It can store some fat and things like that too. And it gives you the rigid levers that your muscular system needs to use to pull on to move you around. Well done. Thank you. Who wants a bonus question about the skeletal system? Yeah? Are you looking at me, Miss Monreal, because you want the bonus question about the skeletal system?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. I like that. And you got a little toot about it, too. There are
Yeah, man, give it to me.
There are cells that actually destroy bone and cells that rebuild bone. And why this is important is because bone is constantly remodeling for your needs. So literally, if I stand for a long time on my right leg will actually get thicker to kind of deal with this new lifestyle I've picked. So what are these cells called that break down and rebuild bone? You want
Osteoblast osteoblast and what is the other one?
osteoclasts.
Clasts.
Blasts and clasts, yeah.
And cast.
Clasts.
I'm not hearing-
CL, I believe, yeah, CLAST. Osteoblasts and osteoclasts. Yeah.
All right.
Wow!
At least I remembered.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Which one does which?
Okay, hold on. I feel like blast. Is that Bill?
It is.
Osteoblast?
It is. You're absolutely right. And it's usually you'd be like, well, isn't it blasting stuff? No, it's building. Osteoblasts
Right,
build.
that's how I remembered with the B and the B.
Yeah. And osteoclasts actually break down.
Okay.
Yep. And why, again, for everybody's edification, why, again, is this important? Why do I care that there are things that break your bone down and build it back up again?
Because it's cool. No.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the answer there.
Because it shows that your body is dynamic and actually adapts to change. It shows that, like, it'd be like the girders of this building adapting to certain change. If we leaned on a wall, it would build that wall up thicker or something like that. It shows that it's not just your muscles that grow in the gym. Your bones actually grow. And everybody, they grow to handle force in the way they take that force. So if you're in a sport where you take lots of lateral hits to your bone, it'll actually grow these kind of lateral kind of fibers in it to make it stronger for a lateral force. I'm not just saying it gets thicker in the right ways to deal with your lifestyle. Right? It's very, very cool. And that's because of osteoclasts and osteoblasts. So your bone is very dynamic. And it's making red and white blood cells. And it's storing some fat. And it changes when you need it to. And it's levers for your body. It's amazing. So it's a living thing. It's really, really cool. Yeah. Cool. One last bonus question. Miss Monreal, since you're on fire, what is the fascia that covers your bone?
Periosteum.
Wow. Okay. All right. You're right. Periosteum. Cool. Okay. Anybody else want a bonus question or anything? Just want to go for it? I don't know, Miss Hunter. I feel like you want to say yes. Yes, your head says no, but your smile says yes.
I'm laughing because I'm like, no one wants to go against Miss Monreal. And so I'm laughing because I'm just like, no way am I wanting a bonus question. So
Yeah.
thank you, Larry. Bye.
All right, can we walk down a bonus trail together, you and I? Can I walk with you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. You're very, very kind. I'm really serious. And you're very sweet. I'm very sorry. You're right. I wouldn't want to go after that either. But it's not a contest. We're just trying to lump stuff together and keep it fun and light, right? Okay, so can you tell me what the top layer of skin is called?
Epidermis.
Epidermis. Thank you. We're doing pretty good on this walk so far. Can you tell me what the next layer of skin is?
Shoot, hold on. Dermis.
Yeah, actually, let me write it down here to make that point. Yes. Can you tell me what the bottom layer of skin is called? And think of hypodermic needle.
Hypodermis.
Interesting. Dermis. Epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. Beautiful. Can you tell me the other two names for hypodermis?
Subcutaneous. And superficial fascia.
Yeah. I'm going to put that one down here for a reason. These are the same thing, everybody. They're the same thing. Superficial fascia. So we've kind of gone down this layer of epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, or superficial fascia. You're right about subcutaneous too, but I'm just going to forget about that one for a second. So we got epidermis, dermis, superficial fascia. Here's the tricky part, and we're going to do this together, so it's okay. Remember how muscle was also wrapped with fascia?
Yes.
It had these like muscle, the word myo means muscle, so these kind of mycelium layers. Do you remember what the top layer of the fascia around the muscle was called?
Top layer around the muscle?
Around groups of muscles, yeah.
Oh my god. Is it? Oh my god. Myosin? Okay.
Well, mycelium, all right, mycelium, which is kind of like this root word dermis. What do you suppose the top layer of mycelium might be?
Epimysium?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you suppose the next layer is? Starts with a P.
Perimysium?
Yep. Perimysium. And then what do you suppose the last layer, the end of the line, is called? The end of...
Endomysium?
Oh my gosh, you're on fire. Boom. So what she has just done is talk about a whole lot of layers of fascia in a way. Epidermis, dermis, superficial fascia, epimysium, perimysium, endomysium. She has kind of cut down through a body right there. Pretty darn impressive. Thank you very much, Miss Hunter.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you put Miss Monreal to shame. I don't want to tell her that,
Oh,
but
whatever.
I mean, come on. She couldn't have done that. There's no
Oh
way.
my god.
She's just making up words over there. Osteoblasts and osteoclasts and stuff. That was fantastic. Cool. And by the way, strangely enough, what's the stuff that goes around bone?
I thought it was perimysium.
Yeah.
Oh, periosteum. Okay.
Yeah. Think of osteoporosis, which is a bone disease. Osteo means bone. Periosteum. Yeah. Cool. I would really, if you're taking notes, consider kind of writing something like this down. I mean, prettier than this and spelled correctly, but this is a pretty good thing to kind of know. Thank you for organizing all that for us. That was really, really helpful. I'm really serious. Cool. All right, so Miss Hunter has walked down this path. She has led us to the nervous system. The nervous system. Let me ask you some questions before we start on the nervous system. About the nervous system, that is. Let me present my thing here, too. Boom. Anybody can answer this question. Anybody can answer this question. You can answer it right or wrong. Do you think some fascia will be involved with the nervous system? Will the nervous system have any fascial layers?
I think so.
Absolutely it will, because everything has something to do with fascia, and connective tissue is the most abundant of the 4 tissues in your body.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Yeah, fascia will definitely have something to do with the nervous system. We'll find that it wraps around some of the nervous system and provides support to it. Just like we found out that it's kind of part of the skin and wraps around the muscles and wraps around the bones, we're going to find that there's fascia around the nervous system. That's wonderful. And like I just said, the connective tissue there are 4 types of tissue in your body, and connective tissue is the most prominent one. It's the one you have the most of. It's most abundant. By the way, can anybody name the 4 tissues that are found in your body? Connective is 1. Miss Monreal?
Did we go over this?
We did a long time ago. I'm pulling back stuff. There's 4 main tissue types in
Okay.
your body. Connective is 1.
Soft tissue.
It's any type of tissue. There's 4 main tissue types in your body. I'd call Miss Hunter, she knows, but she already kind of showed off with this whole thing here, and I just don't want to rub that in your face, Miss Monreal. But, I mean, so connective is 1. Another one relates to a system that we've already studied. So connective is 1. Another one helps us move. Muscular tissue. Yep. So connective tissue, muscular tissue. Another one is we're going to learn about today.
Nervous tissue.
Nervous tissue. And the last one is called epithelial tissue, which covers
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten
covers the linings in and outside your body. Not a bad thing to know either. Epithelial tissue covers the linings of your body inside and out. Muscular tissue, nervous tissue, and connective tissue, which is the most prominent in your body. Boom.
Okay.
So I'm just going back to old stuff, bringing it back here. So that when you leave, I hope that you leave with like about 100 facts about, kind of base facts about the body. Not today.
Wait,
I meant
what was epithelial tissue?
epithelial tissue is defined as lining the insides and outsides of cavities in your body.
Okay.
So it is the coating tissue over stuff, but it's not connective tissue.
Oh.
Yeah, so skin and inside and out kind of stuff. Epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. So we're going to learn about the nervous system today. And it will have nervous tissue in it, and it'll have connective tissue in it. Yeah. Cool? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So let's talk about the nervous system. We said that it's going to have something to do with fascia. That's true. Does the nervous system overlap into any other systems that we've studied so far? Does it have anything to do with any other systems we've studied so far? Go ahead, Ms. Torres.
Oh my god, I'm so nervous.
Well, I thought you were. I thought you turned on your mic. I thought you were going to tell me.
No, I said that I'm so nervous. I was just your joke.
Got you. Well, Ms. Torres, not to make you more nervous, but could the nervous system have anything to do with systems we've already learned?
I'm thinking musculatory system.
Sure. How could the nervous system affect the skeletal muscles?
Because it runs through them.
Yeah. Your muscles do not contract unless they get a nervous system impulse. Period. They don't. They work because they get a little electric impulse that's carried by your nervous system to the muscle. That's how my brain says move, my hand, and a little electrical impulse goes down the thing, and I can move. Although this requires thousands of impulses. But the point is, it's my nervous system connecting to my muscular system that tells it to move. Sure. Could this connect any other systems we've learned about?
The integumentary system,
Excellent, Ms. Petrie. Why would it be the integumentary system?
because it's sending a signal for things to grow or
That is true, too.
her to
Yeah.
grow. It's like stimulating
Yeah, I love that.
for your nails to grow.
What's one of the qualities of your integumentary system?
Skin, hair, nails, and glands.
That's what it's made of. What's one of the things it does for me?
It does a protection, sensory.
Yeah, sensory.
Okay.
So when my sensory organ in my skin gets a little signal, what carries that signal back to my brain?
The nervous system.
Yeah, the nervous system. All right, so to oversimplify things horribly, but very effectively, the nervous system is a series of wires that connects your entire body to your brain. They are living wires, but they really, really are wires. You can actually send electricity down them. They're wires. And don't get me wrong, they don't just work on electricity, they work on chemical messaging, all sorts of stuff. And it's very complicated. But the fact still remains this. This is the part where I kind of frame everything we're going to learn about in the simplest terms possible. You've got a brain. That's the best brain I got. You got a brain, which is made out of nervous tissue, by the way, too. It's made out of all these tiny little neurons that interact in this really fascinating way, and they can learn and they can change over time, and you can actually wire them in certain directions. It's why we do gratitude every day, by the way, because you can actually train your brain to see things in a positive or a negative light, and it gets wired into your head so it becomes easier to see things one way or the other. Your brain really does physically learn, like the neurons change and they link up with other neurons. So you really can train yourself for positivity. And why not? Because there's a lot to be positive about, and it's a beautiful world. But these neurons, there's huge wires that come down out of here, millions of them. There's so many that it makes this thick tube that runs down through your spine, that your bone protects. That's your spinal cord. That hooks right up into your brain. And off the spinal cord are nerve plexes. And then off these nerve plexes are smaller nerves. Off those smaller nerves are smaller nerves and smaller nerves and smaller nerves and smaller nerves. And you've got a nerve to every little teeny little millimeter of your body. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to feel it. If you can find a place in your body that you can poke with a pin and you can't feel it, there's not a nerve going there. But good luck. So you've got...
Elbow.
Really? Your elbow? Mr. Kandarsh, you can't just throw that out and not follow up with that.
Sorry, no, I was talking and I removed myself. I was saying scratch like the end of your elbow, and like you'll feel like barely anything. I think there's a certain spot right on the tip of your elbow, like right here.
I don't know, my elbow's pretty sensitive.
And if I've seen a video where someone like they made a cut, and they're like, I don't feel shit.
Oh, well, they might not feel stuff, but I'm telling you, I can feel it. Yeah, you can have nerve damage and not feel something. But the point is these wires go from your head down to your spine, then out through branches that are called nerve plexes, and then to the rest of your body. Millions of them. And by the time they get down to your hand, they're so small you can't see them anymore. But they're teeny tiny little wires that go to every little spot on me. And when a nerve sensor gets hit, it sends a message back to my brain and says, hey, we got a little hit here. And your brain is actually very smart and has to interpret what that means. I want you to think about that for a second. When I touch... What?
Can nerves grow back?
So, yes. Yes, they can, but apparently it's one of the tissues in your body that does not regenerate very well.
Okay.
And so, like when people have spinal...
I've heard of people getting their tongue pierced, and then they hit a nerve, and now they can't get any taste.
Yeah,
They've lost their sense of taste altogether.
yeah.
So it made me wonder if nerves actually can grow back, or is that like a, oh well.
Completely severed nerves don't seem to grow... Completely severed nerves don't seem to grow back, which is why people are paralyzed. When somebody is paralyzed, like from a spinal cord injury, if this gets severed, it doesn't seem to grow back. And then they can't feel, all this stuff down here can't get back up to the brain. So they lose all this sensation. They'll keep all this, but they lose all the stuff below. So when you have a spinal cord injury, you'd like it as low as possible. Because if it's down by my sacrum, I just can't feel the back of my legs. If it's above my lumbar, I can't feel my legs at all. If it's starting to get above my thoracic, I can't feel any of this. If it's in my neck, I lose control of arms. If it's C3, C4, I could lose control of my breathing. So, yeah, you could die. Die. So anyway, but the point is, I just want you to get that it's a whole system of wires we're learning about. And why do we care as massage therapists? Because these little yellow things are supposed to be the nerve plexes. They cut them off, otherwise they'd be branches that come off here, right? They make it smaller and smaller and smaller branches like roots from a tree. Because if you pinch one of these things, not only does the person get great pain, but it messes with everything those nerves go to. So if you get some problems down in here, you could, get problems down your legs and things like that have nothing to do with your legs, but the nerves that feed your legs are pinched. So as massage therapists, we care about nerves getting pinched, and they can get pinched anywhere along the way. So what I mean by that is you've got a brachial nerve that feeds your whole arm basically. And it comes out the side of your neck as several nerves and then kind of runs down here through the front here and down from the inside of my elbow and down into my arm. Well, it can get pinched here. A tight neck could pinch it. But a tight, what's this muscle called? Pectoralis what, ma'am?
Pectoralis minor.
Thank you. Pectoralis minor can actually pinch it because it runs right under that. You can actually get it pinched in your cubital region, and any of these pinches along the way, just like cutting off a water pipe, would give me tingling and numbness down to my fingers. So I could get tingling and numbness down to my fingers, and it could be a pinched nerve here, here, or here, the same nerve. It might not be any of those things either, but it could be. And so we really want to kind of understand this concept of how the nervous system works because you want to look for this stuff when you're massaging people. Now, you won't know if you found it. You can't feel a pinched nerve. But you can feel areas that feel tight enough that they might be pinching a nerve. And kind of follow along that theory. And be like, yeah, your hand's bothering you. I'm going to work on your hand. But I'm also going to loosen up your forearm, your arm, and your neck because I know that the nerve runs all the way back to there. And that could be a problem too. So I've mentioned this many times. I'm mentioning it again because it's super important. Super important to just basic massage therapy. And yet many massage therapists don't do it. So always remember that if I have a problem with my hand or my foot or my knee or whatever, then maybe I just have a problem with my hand or my foot or my knee. But maybe I think I have a problem with my hand or my foot or my knee because the nerve is pinched that feeds my hand or my foot or my knee. Or both. Right? And so you would work on both. Because you got nothing to lose. You're just massaging somebody. All right. Let's look at the nervous system and its pathologies. Yes, pathologies, which is the study of disease. Diseases of the nervous system. I'm going to skip over this, believe it or not. Anybody remember we talked about homeostasis before? Homeostasis, good. Anybody tell me in simple English what homeostasis means?
Basically, the body will always try to maintain its most absolute state.
Thank you. That was beautifully done. Your body has a tendency to try to stay in a stable state. If you start getting hot, it sweats to keep your temperature back to normal. It tries to stay in a very narrow range. And by the way, it needs to stay in a narrow range. If the temperature of my core changes very much, I die. Your limbs can get very cold and stuff and hot, but your core's got to stay very stable. Right? If you have a temperature of 104, you go to the hospital because you can die. It's only 6 degrees above normal. I mean, think about it, that's pretty delicate. So your body has a tendency to try to keep its internal environment the same. That's homeostasis. Yep. And the nervous system and the endocrine system are largely responsible for that. You guys have not learned about the endocrine system yet, but you will. But the endocrine system is the system of your glands and hormones. And your glands produce hormones, and your hormones are chemical messengers in your body. I'm just giving you some backstory so it makes sense what I'm telling you right now. You don't have to worry about it too much yet because we're going to study this system later. But hormones are powerful chemical messengers. And they tell you when to grow. They tell you when to stop growing. They tell you how to regulate inner processes. They tell you all sorts of things.
Don't autoimmune disorders mess with homeostasis?
Yes, they do. Autoimmune disorders, because the body tends to attack its own itself, and that can be a big problem. Yeah. So homeostasis is the tendency to kind of try to stay in balance. As massage therapists, we'd like to return our clients to a state of homeostasis. And the nervous system, the endocrine systems are largely responsible for keeping your body in homeostasis, for keeping it in balance. The nervous system sends signals and says, hey, this area is getting hot or cold or something's not right here, and your body adjusts. And it's very automatic. Think of all the stupid things you've done in your life and you're still alive. That's because your body kicked in and helped you out. Or maybe you haven't done, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. And my body kicked in and helped me out. Returned me to a state of homeostasis. So, just like we talked about, what's the skin made up of? What are the muscles made up of? What's the skeletal system made up of? The nervous system is made up of your brain. Sorry. Your brain, that's what this part is right here. Your spinal cord, which is inside your spine. It's inside your spine. Your spine protects it. Thank God. Your peripheral nerves. Anybody know what peripheral vision is? On your periphery, it's the ability to kind of see off the side of your eyes. Peripheral nerves are all the nerves that come off the side. Now, there's a little bit more to this definition, but that to me is the most core definition. Like when we say integumentary system is hair, skin, and nails, to me, the nervous system is brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. Because peripheral nerves are all the nerves that come off the spine. They're all the other nerves. So you got a brain up here, you got a spinal cord, and you got peripheral nerves. That's all the nerves that are shooting off there. They're going down to your little toe, and right next to your little toe, and 1 millimeter from that little place on your little toe, and all that stuff. So brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. They throw some other really confusing stuff in here about cranial and spinal nerves, but those are just peripheral nerves too. Don't worry about that. And they like to throw in your sense organs like your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, because that's where your sense organs are. And let me explain what they mean by that. All right. We've got this lovely spinal cord here, right? We've got peripheral nerves that come off it, right? And I said off those peripheral nerves are other peripheral nerves. It's like a tree. They get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Well, finally, by the time you get to the end of one of these things, you have a sensor on the end of it. You have a sensor on the end of it. It wouldn't do any good if I ran a wire into this room and there's just a wire sitting in this room, right? It's got to have a sensor on the end of it to tell me something about the room. The wire does me no good. And this sensor right here, you've got many different types of sensors, right? In your eyes, you have sensors that sense light. And they literally send back a signal when they get light back to your brain. In your skin, you have sensors that sense heat, touch, pressure, pain, and they're all different. These wires attach to something that only does one thing, basically. It either senses pain, or it senses heat, or it senses whatever, and that's how your brain figures out what's going on. Because really what happens is, when you stub your toe, you probably hit 200 sensors. And your brain goes, well, the pain sensor went off, the heat sensor didn't go off, the pressure sensor did go off. I think we stubbed our toe. That's literally what your brain has to do. Because all it gets back from these wires is dee-dee, 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 dee-dee. But it's able to figure stuff out this way. Have you ever had one sensation that you didn't realize was something else? Like you cut yourself and you didn't realize it hurt until you saw it or something like that? Or, I mean, that happens because your brain can't actually always interpret what's going on. It's actually trying to read hundreds of sensors coming back. And it's like the pain sensor went off, and now the heat sensor went off, and I smell burning flesh. Maybe I have my hand on a burner. It has to really put all that together. Because we always think that you really feel pain. You don't actually really feel pain. You feel what your brain interprets as pain. It goes, oh gosh, I'm having pain sensors go off. I should probably scream and pull my hand back. Like it's making you feel pain so you'll react. But you don't really feel pain and you don't exactly feel pleasure either. These are just signals that come back to your head and go dee 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 dee, right? But your brain goes, oh, the last time we had those sensors go off on my tongue, I was eating chocolate, and I like that stuff. Chocolate's delicious, and it tells you the chocolate's delicious. Okay? So anyway, those are sense organs. And yes, you have your eyes, ears, nose, and tongue, but you also have tiny little sensory organs on the end of every single nerve in your body. Millions and millions of them. And at the tip of my finger, I don't just have a sense organ that senses pain. I've got one that senses heat, and I've got one that senses pressure, and all these different things so they can send signals back to my brain, and my brain can try to figure out what the heck I'm doing with my finger right now. And it goes, well, that doesn't hurt, but we're feeling some pressure, and we're hearing something in his ear. He must be cleaning the wax out of his ear again. Like, it really does have to figure that stuff out. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Yes, please, Miss Monreal.
So, what do you mean we don't really feel pain?
I mean that this is pretty accurate, what I'm about to tell you now. It is an analogy, but it's a pretty accurate analogy. So, you've got this big computer on top of your head, right? Your brain. It's actually made up of a whole bunch of little nerves too, but let's call it a big computer. It's got a huge, thick cable coming out of it, and that thick cable is huge because it's made up of a billion little cables. And branches of this come off that are less thick, and branches come off that are less thick, and branches come off that are less thick, and finally you get down to these teeny little wires. And at the end of those wires are switches. So let's just pretend that I've got 5 little wires going to this tiny little space at the end of my finger, this tiny little space. And to be very honest with you, I don't know if it's 20, 200, but it's at least 5 going to a tiny little millimeter there, a tiny, tiny little millimeter. This switch only goes off when I get a sudden sharp impact. This switch only goes off when the area gets too hot. This switch actually only goes off from light, gentle pressure. This switch goes off from vibration. This is all true. You really have these type of sensors. This switch, I don't know. This switch goes off from extreme cold. So what happens is I put my hand towards a fire, and my body goes, there's something sharp and extreme happening. That switch goes off. The heat sensor just went off. But pressure didn't go off, and cold didn't go off, and all these switches do is send back dee-dee, dee-dee, and my brain literally gets like a light that lights up that says, heat sensor way down in the pinky went off. Sharp, really quick motion happened down in the pinky. And it literally has to be like, well, the last time we experienced that, we were burning ourselves, and that was a big problem. I'm going to determine that that is painful, and I'm going to make this person react and get their hand out of the way. It literally has to interpret the messages, and they're like Morse code. It's like dee 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 dee. It's just wires sending back messages. The wire doesn't come back with a message of pain. It comes back with a message of pain sensor shut off, heat sensor set off, cold sensor went off, pressure sensor went off, and your brain has to put that together. When you're
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
when you're eating food on your tongue, you know how you have salt sensors and sugar sweet sensors and bitter sensors and sour sensors. You've heard of this on your tongue. This is why wine connoisseurs, when they drink wine, they swirl it around their whole mouth because they're trying to get the wine over all their sensors. My salt sensors only sense salt. And my bitter sensors only sense bitter. And my spicy sensors only sense spice. And think of all the different foods you eat. When you eat chicken or rice or a banana, the reason it tastes like chicken or rice or banana is because a certain amount of those sensors go off and your brain goes, that's a banana. But it does not taste a banana. It tastes something that has a certain texture, has a certain amount of salt in it, certain amount of bitter sensors went off, certain amount of other sensors went off, and the brain goes, that's banana, and I like that. And it probably tells you it likes it because bananas are good for you and they've got energy in them. It's one of the reasons we like sweets. Your brain says, that's a high energy food. Of course I like that food. So does that help?
Well, I guess I just got hung up on your statement that they're kind of like
what I felt you were saying, that there really is no pain, which I get what you're saying. So I've always interpreted pain as your body telling you, hey, something's up.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But with you saying that there's really no pain, I was just thinking like, yeah, I had 5 kids. I know there's pain.
But let me give you that. That's a really good example, actually. So, lots of people interpret those pain signals, differently. And so if I got a tattoo, I think I would find that excruciating. Now, people that get ink done will tell me, yeah, it really was intense, but quite often they will not use the term painful. They'll say intense because they're really excited to get the tattoo done. And the tattoo has a warm, happy association with them, and so they wouldn't quite describe it as pain. When I get deep tissue massage done, other people are like, I feel like I was abused and it was a horrible, painful experience. I'm like, it was intense, but I actually liked it. I mean, I literally liked it. Working out. Muscular pain actually hurts, but people that are into working out will tell you it is a pleasurable experience. When those pain receptors go off for them, they don't feel pain. They feel something, but they don't interpret it as pain. And birthing is kind of the same way. Birthing is
So I have a question.
yes, go ahead.
So what makes some people have more pain than others? Is it because we have more receptors, or what is it? Why is it some people have more pain tolerance? That's my question.
Yeah, there's just so many answers to that, and I'm not really qualified to answer it, but I will tell you what little I know. So one is, you're right. Some people have nervous systems that work more rapidly and better than other people. So maybe they have a dulled nervous system. And that's kind of what drugs and alcohol do, is dull your nervous system so you don't feel as much pain. The other thing is, we know that when you are afraid and your pain receptors go off, that they feel more painful. And so many of you have probably had some painful procedure done, and you will recognize that the fear of the procedure is almost worse than the pain from the procedure. The anticipation is actually one of the worst parts about it. And so we know people that are anticipating lots of pain tend to report experiencing more pain. And if you're somebody who thinks you have a high pain tolerance, you tend to not be afraid of pain. And so that belief alone, that mental idea, actually makes you react different to pain. Because remember, in a way, there really is no pain. My brain just gets these receptors that say, pain sensor's going off. I mean, look at spicy food. Spicy food is pain sensors going off. Pain sensors going off. And when my girlfriend has spicy food, she feels abused. She is not happy. Like, it is not a pleasurable experience for her. And I'm sitting there like crying and like eating more of it, and I love it. So it really does have a lot to do with your interpretation of it. Right? And certain experiences bring back different stuff for us, depending on your childhood, your past, if there's any abuse, all sorts of stuff. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So anyway, so there's lots of reasons, Ms. Torres, that people would have different experiences of pain, mental and physical.
Okay, so side note.
This also reminds me of the movie Inside Out.
Yeah.
Did you watch that movie?
No. But I will now.
Oh, you need to watch it, teacher.
Okay. You got it, Ms. Torres. Wow. So, Ms. Monreal, thank you.
6 months back, I haven't been tested, but I thought, oh, for sure I probably had COVID. I didn't get sick or anything. There was one day where I just kind of slept all day, but I do have autoimmune issues, so that's kind of normal. Didn't think anything of it, but I ended up losing my smell and taste for about a month and a half.
That's COVID, probably.
So, it could have very well been, but it was the strangest thing to not be able to smell or taste. So when you were talking about the taste buds, it's really interesting because I don't think that I fully got them back all the way.
there are certain things I can't taste now.
Yeah.
So
That will probably return. That type of
hopefully.
nerve stuff will probably return. It does with almost everybody, so just hang in there on that one. But yes, this is my point. What happened was something got messed up with your wiring, right? So again, it's interpretation of wiring. It really is interpretation of
Which
wiring.
I find it so strange as far as with that sickness. Like, how is it that it affects the nerves? Like, I don't know. For me, I always just want to know how things work.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, your nervous system does use not just electrical stuff, but it uses chemical messengers to talk to other nerves. And if those chemicals in your body get messed up, it would disrupt the nerves terribly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Headaches. How do headaches work then? Do they work the same way?
Good question. If I knew that answer, I would probably be rich right now and not teaching you guys. They're very elusive. Their headaches are really elusive, doctor. We do know some things that cause them. Like there's some really easy ways. Like we've all had a freeze brain, and that is literally when you're getting your blood vessels cold on the top of your mouth, and that blood goes up to your head, and a pain receptors goes off and goes, this is a problem, and that's where you get a freeze brain from. That's not exactly a headache, but other headaches we're not sure, like migraines, they're really not sure where they come from. In massage therapy, tension.
Weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I have so many friends who suffer from severe migraines.
Yeah, the migraines are really elusive. Nobody's quite figured those out. Regular tension headaches literally come from what? Tension. And they come from pinched nerves in this area, and the pinching of the nerve sends a pain signal.
Right.
So, by the way, everybody, if this is a pain receptor here, I can hit this area really hard to set it off, but also messing with this nerve will set it off. That's what I meant about, like, I might be feeling pain in my hand, but really it's a pinched nerve in my neck that's a pain nerve, right? And so my brain thinks that there is a problem with my hand. It doesn't know any better. It's like, all I know is that cord goes down to the hand, and that cord is telling me that there's a problem there. But we find out the problem's actually up here. So tension headaches come from that. Tension headaches are much easier to understand. And massage is very effective on them. Very effective. So are cruises, trips to the Bahama, and babysitters. Very good for tension headaches. But migraines are tricky. I don't know. I just don't know about migraines. And yes, I will tell you all about this, though, about migraines. It's really, really cool. Most migraine sufferers will say that nothing takes away their migraines. That's not true. There's actually some really expensive drugs out there that will, if you catch it before it sets in too quickly and they take this pill really fast, some migraine sufferers say it stops their migraines. But they got to catch it at the right time. But almost all migraine sufferers say that while massage does not remove their migraines, that regular massage reduces the intensity and the regularity of their migraines. So they have, migraines aren't quite as bad and they don't have them as often. And if you're really a migraine sufferer and you can afford regular massage, they jump all over it. Because if I could go from having a migraine a week to a migraine a month, that's worth everything. What, Ms. Torres?
Botox to paralyze the muscle on your forehead?
Yeah. Yeah, Botox is actually not paralyzing the muscle. It's actually, it's snake venom, and it's actually destroying the nerve. It disrupts the nerve. And it usually lasts about a month, and the nerve's able to recoup from it. And so when you don't have nerves, right what I'm doing right now with my eyebrows and stuff, that's me, my brain telling me to lift up my eyebrows to make this facial expression. Well, if we Botox in here, I still send that signal. I'm still like raise my eyebrows, but the nerve doesn't fire off. It doesn't give the signal there. And then my expression is like this. Wow.
Well, so by doing that, can you destroy the muscle then? I mean the nerve?
I would think over time
or damage it?
I would think over time you could damage it. Again, I'm not an expert, but and by the way, I'm not against like doing cosmetic things to make yourself more beautiful or whatever, but I'm a little personally pessimistic of things that cause damage to nerves. And keep you from having facial expressions. But that's my own bias.
That's what I'm saying.
It's my own bias. So I don't know. I would recommend you research that and see if there's research out about long-term damage from Botox. I do know they use Botox sometimes for long-term damage. Like for people with migraines and stuff, they try to hit the nerve that they think is causing a problem. Or people with excessive sweaty armpits, they'll Botox them so they don't get the nerve signal there to sweat. And, you know, just got to be careful. My general rule of thumb is try not to mess with stuff that's working. Okay, so the nervous system is made up of the brain, the spinal cord, the peripheral nerves, and all the sensory organs, whether they're big ones like my eyes or the little sensors at the end of these nerves. That's it. And they put neurotransmitters on here too. Neurotransmitters are just the chemicals that come out of the end of a nerve to go to the next nerve to tell it to go take its message someplace else. So like I said, they're not just all electrical. They're oftentimes transmitting their message through a chemical. And that's a neurotransmitter. So your muscles work that way, by the way. I send an electrical signal down here, and then a little neurotransmitter gets released, and that's what tells the sarcomere to contract. Right? But still same basic premise. Wiring from here has to get to wherever it's going. Right? And wiring has to leave my brain to go tell something to do, and there has to be wiring coming back to tell me what it did. That's it. Okay. So, the main function, and actually, Miss Monreal, this kind of goes to what I was saying. You have sensory input, which is stuff coming into the brain, right? I'm touching my hands. That signal right now went up to my brain. I have motor output. Motor output means information coming from my brain telling me to move my skeletal muscles. Motor output. And my brain is in the middle serving as an interpretive function. So my brain really does kind of interpret what's going on and tries to make sense of the world. This is why, and I really mean this, think about it, this is why if you've worked on a client's shoulders and neck and they complain about them and now they are looser, you need to tell them that they are looser. Because people get kind of stuck, all of us get stuck in the way things are. And if you come to me, Miss Monreal, and you say, my neck and shoulders are really tight and it's really bothering me, and I get them loosened up a little bit, I'm going to be like, now I think we've made a lot of progress today. You can actually feel how this was really hard before and now it's kind of soft and you're really kind of loosened up. Can you move those around? You're like, oh yeah, it is different. I'm trying to tell you it's different to make sure you get the message, because if you don't get that message, even though I've loosened them up, you won't really respond that way. You'll still be kind of like this with them and you'll tighten them back up again. Right? Have you ever seen people do this in their personal life, right? I hope you all say yes, because I've done it for sure, where you kind of get a thought stuck in your head and that thought kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right? That's how life works, actually.
Yeah,
so,
that's so interesting that you say that. That's such a good
I think so
point.
too, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm never lying to a client. You don't want to lie to a client because you want them to believe you, right? Just like I wouldn't say great job in class if it wasn't a great job, because then you're not going to believe me when it is a great job, right? But you do want to point out to clients what's working. So if I loosened up your neck and shoulders, but not your lower back, I might not mention the low back and just tell you about the neck and shoulders so that you get some progress and we can start to reprogram your brain. You know, and gosh, you seemed, I could tell you were stressed out. Oh my gosh. And now you seem so much more relaxed. Oh, some people actually, oh yeah, I am. Yes, you are. Like, make sure they kind of understand that new thing, right? Cool. Okay, so brains are like, muscles. They can be changed. They really, really can. Good parents know this all the time. I watch parents do it all the time. Kid falls down, they go, oh, you're okay. Yeah, I know it hurt a little bit, but you're okay. And the kid's like, oh, yeah, I'm okay. And they go run off. And you can tell there's a decision going on right there, whether they're about to flip out or not. And I watch really good parents. They're really good at kind of like, nope, you're okay. Everything's fine. Yep, okay, bye. And they're like, okay. Like they just make sure to put that message in really quick. It's quite impressive. Okay, so you have a central nervous system. So here's how now they're going to explain how the nervous system is divided up, because of course, some guy like me 100 years ago had to start naming everything again so that students like you could get headaches, right, with your nervous system. But there is a central nervous system, And the central nervous system is in the center. So what's in the center? My brain and spinal cord. Boom. Now, they throw some other stuff in there like the I always say meninges. Meninges, which is, have you ever heard of meningitis? Very, very, very serious stuff. Meninges are meninges, sorry. Anyway, it's the lining around your brain and spinal cord. Your brain and spinal cord are so important to your body that they have a lining around them that actually kind of seals them off from the rest of the body. And it even controls blood flow across there and stuff like that. Direct blood flow on your brain, like your brain needs blood to live, but direct blood on your brain is not good for it. It's a very sensitive organ. And your body is very worried about a virus getting in to your brain and spinal cord because you're a goner. So it protects this stuff at all costs. And that's the meninges around there. That's this protective coating. And then there's cerebral spinal fluid in there, which is just fluid in there to protect the brain and the spinal cord, and protect them from impact too. My brain's kind of sloshing around in a little bit of this fluid to help protect it. But the fact is your central nervous system is still brain and spinal cord. That would be a completely acceptable answer. They're just telling you around that brain and spinal cord is wrapped this meninges stuff, right? That helps protect the brain and spinal cord, which is why meningitis is so dangerous. It's actually a disease of that protective coating. And there's cerebral fluid around there, cerebral spinal fluid, which is brain and spinal fluid that helps protect it. But still, central nervous system is what? Brain, spinal column. Boom. Okay? And everything that I feel, everything has to come up that spinal column to get to my brain, and everything I do has to come down that spinal column and out a peripheral nerve to get out.
You said spinal column and then spinal cord. Is it both the same thing?
To me, they're exactly the same thing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I probably should have said spinal cord, which maybe is going down the spinal, I don't know. I think spinal column is completely acceptable too, but it is my spinal cord, yes. And I'm using them interchangeably, yes. Yeah. And remember the spinal cord, you can't, if this had vertebrae all over it, you can't get to it through here. The peripheral nerves come out the side. This is where people get pinched. And you can get a blown disc that pinches on it. But this thing, when you're working on somebody's back, you do not have to worry about actually hitting their spinal cord. And I've had clients who are like, oh, I've got a herniated disc or whatever. Don't hit the spinal cord. You can't hit the spinal cord. I'm not saying you can't cause somebody discomfort, but I just want to let you know that if you've hit the spinal cord, you're the strongest person alive and you've already killed them. So where's the spinal cord in, because you have your little model there, where would it be according to that? So this is the vertebral body. This is the front of your body. This is the front. This is the stuff in front. And back is where we feel, right here. And between the spinous processes and the transverse processes is a hole. It's the vertebral foramen, and it's a hole that the spinal cord goes through. So here, this is a good picture of it. Between the transverse processes and the spinous process is a hole that my spinal cord runs through. So it's protected on all sides by bone. Usually where people get pinched nerves is when the plexes come out the side. Now, a blown disc, or a herniated disc, is when the disc actually pushes out, and that can push into the spinal cord. Oh, in fact, can you see this right here? That's how a herniated disc actually works. It kind of busts out through this protective thing here, and it pushes on this. And that could actually push on a nerve, and that can really hurt. But that's not you doing it. You can't get to it. There's bone around the whole thing.
So that yellow thing on top, right now, like if you can hold, so is that the spinal cord right there? Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for helping make that distinction, yes. It's the spinal cord, and you wouldn't be able to see it because there would be another vertebra on top of this. And it goes all the way up into the head, right? And runs all the way down to almost halfway through your lumbar vertebrae. In a way, it really goes all the way down to your tailbone. but it stops being a cord after a while and starts branching out so much that they call it something different. They call it actually the Caudius equinus, which Miss Stanley will love because Caudius equinus means horse's tail. Because it has so many nerves at the end, it looks like a horse's tail. But we'll get to that later. Anyway, thank you, Miss Monreal. You're right. It is a thick, thick cord that runs through your vertebrae, and it's protected for that reason. So central nervous system is what, Miss Monreal? What two things?
Your brain and your spinal column or cord.
Thank you. Beautiful. And then that's the central nervous system, and then you have everything that comes off of the spine, right? And that is your peripheral nervous system. So you'll see CNS, central nervous system, and PNS, peripheral nervous system. That's everything off the sides. Yeah? Cool. So, Miss Stanley, what makes up your central nervous system?
Spinal cord,
Spinal cord and what? One other thing.
the brain,
Thank you. And Miss Bilotic, what makes up your peripheral nervous system?
the cranial and spinal nerves.
Let's go to all the other nerves that come off the spinal cord. Yes, and by the way, you're kind of right. I just wasn't sure if you were just reading the slide or.
Oh, I was writing it down.
Oh, good. So let me explain why they have cranial nerves up there. Cranial nerves are these nerves that are sneaking out from like underneath your skull here, and they're actually not part of the spinal cord, but they're hooked to the brain just like that, and they're called cranial nerves. They tend to come around and feed your face and things like that. I don't mean feed it, but like wire to my face. So that stuff in my face is so close to my brain that it actually just kind of links up underneath here and goes in there. And that's a cranial nerve. But it's still peripheral nerve. It's stuff off the brain and spinal cord. Okay, so follow me here. We have a CNS, which is a central nervous system, right? Central nervous system, brain, and spinal cord. Then we have everything else, peripheral nervous system. It's all the nerves that come off that. I don't care what you call them. Peripheral nervous system. Actually, let me do this. I want you guys to be able to organize this in your head. Today we are learning about the NS, the nervous system. It is divided into the CNS and the PNS. So the nervous system is divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Yeah? And of course, to keep people like me employed, we have to make this confusing. So we divide the peripheral nervous system into two systems also. The somatic and the autonomic. Somatic and autonomic. Auto means automatic. Autonomic is automatic. It is essentially not under your conscious control, and it is the nerves that go and tell you to breathe and to beat your heart and to digest food and to regulate the stuff inside your body and to turn on glands and to constrict blood vessels and to open up blood vessels. That is autonomic. It is part of your peripheral nervous system. It's these nerves coming off the spine, but they go to your liver and your heart and your kidneys and your lungs and your arteries and your veins and your butt and your nose, right? They're automatic. And that is your autonomic nervous system. Then you've got your somatic nervous system, which is the part of your peripheral nervous system that goes to my muscles. It is under your voluntary control, I hope. Otherwise, you might do stuff like this because you had no control. But you do have control. That's your somatic nervous system. Okay?
Could I see that again?
No, you cannot. You cannot. So, we have a nervous system. That's what we're learning about today. We decided that was divided into two categories: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Central is just here. The peripheral nervous system comes off the central nervous system. And the peripheral nervous system has two components: the autonomic or automatic. That's, just remember, the nervous system that controls billions of things for you right now so you can pay attention to me. If you had to, for a second, do all the stuff this system was doing right now, you'd be like this in class. You would not be able to have a thought or a function. Some of this stuff, here's something kind of cool for you guys to think about. Sometimes stuff transfers from the somatic to the autonomic. So like when you were learning to walk as a baby and you were doing this stuff, right? That's because your brain was thinking things like, I've got to fire these 475 nerves in just the right order to get this guy to walk, right? And that's just to bring this leg forward, not to mention paying attention to the inner ear and how he's stabilizing. Millions and millions of nerves. Well, now that's become an automatic sub-program. I don't think how to walk anymore. I just think walk, and the automatic program takes over. But at one time, it wasn't automatic. You can learn habits that become automatic. Sometimes they're good habits. Sometimes they're bad habits. But they do become automatic. Anyway, this is under your conscious control. Voluntary muscle stuff. Yeah. So that is the two divisions of the peripheral nervous system. Somatic and autonomic. Okay? So, the organization is nervous system divided into the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, brain and spinal cord, all the other stuff. The peripheral nervous system, all the other stuff, is divided into the somatic, under my control, the autonomic, not under my control, and of course, we're going to have two more divisions. The autonomic, which is not under my control, has two divisions, a sympathetic and a parasympathetic, and this is important to massage therapists. When you sympathize with somebody, what are you doing?
You feel for them.
Thank you. You are, within reason, I'm not trying to get all psychological, I'm trying to make a point about this word. You essentially go along with them and agree with them and feel for them. Your sympathetic autonomic nervous system agrees with stimulus and goes with it. So when it gets the stimulus of, hey, there's danger out here, your sympathetic system goes, oh yeah, there's danger out here. I agree too. Let's get the hell out of here. It is your fight or flight nervous system. So I know sympathetic sounds like, oh, it's sympathetic. It's sympathetic to the fact you're about to get eaten or shot or whatever.
Wait, so what was the thing that told it that? What did you say before? What did it agree with, I guess is what I'm asking.
Outside stimulus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it agrees with the fact that you should be nervous and such, and it gets you heightened up. It says, Miss Monreal, you're right. Mr. Tapscott is crazy. He's going to come next door and he's going to go crazy, going to kill you, and I'm going to inject you with lots of adrenaline and make sure you're ready to run or fight. And so now you're even more hyped up. By the way, you were already right here, but it just shot you full of adrenaline. So now you're like, here. Boom. It's your sympathetic nervous system. It actually goes with that. And it's getting you ready for a fight or a flight. Right? So you need it. It is a good thing. And there are times that you need to fight or flight. The parasympathetic system says, no, man, it's all cool. It's all gravy, man. Let's just kick back. Let's digest this food. Let's rest. Let's heal. It is your healing state. This is crucial. I could actually stop this entire lecture right here and I'd be actually happy with where we're at. We're not going to. I'm sorry, you have to learn a few other things. But this is actually, to me, the most important stuff to a massage therapist. This one slide and what I'm about to tell you right now. We need both those systems. So, do we have any Trekkies? Star Trek fans? No? I just thought we might have some geeky Star Trek fans in the audience. Okay.
No, but for the weirdest reason, Captain Picard just popped in ahead this morning, and I don't like Star Trek.
Oh, wow. All right. Anyway, then I won't use that analogy. But anyway, this is true of bodies and countries. You'll have a limited amount of resources, and when you divert them to one area, you have to pull them from another area. When your body is in fight or flight mode, it ramps you up full of adrenaline, but it also shuts down other stuff that it doesn't need right then. For example, your digestion. So if I see a tiger coming at me, or maybe it's Miss Monreal is going to be crazy and she's going to come into my room, right? And I see her come in here with a big machete or whatever, my body is smart enough to know that I don't have to worry about digesting this morning's bagel right now because I might not be around long enough to enjoy the energy that I get from that bagel. What I need to be is ready to fight or flight, and I need all my blood available for that. So it actually shuts down the blood to my stomach and my digestive system, all of it, and it gets ready to put that blood towards other uses. It pumps them out towards my legs and arms, actually. It does other things too, by the way. It actually...
Is that the same thing as people with anxiety?
Yes, we're heading there, and you are on the right track, madam. So the other thing it does is it also says, I don't even need to put a lot of energy into my immune system right now. I mean, I'm not worried about catching a cold right now. Miss Monreal's here with a machete. Like, what happens in the next 10 minutes is going to be really crucial, maybe 10 seconds. I'm not worried about COVID right now, right? So my body will actually even stop working on my defense mechanisms of that nature, my internal defense mechanisms, because I'm in the sympathetic mode and I'm ready to battle right now. Your body only has so many resources, and when it puts them towards one area, it has to take them from another. When I'm in the parasympathetic mode, my body says, I'm not afraid of anything. I made a mistake about Miss Monreal. Everything's fine, and besides, I have the door locked. And, and my body says, I can relax, I can put all my energy towards digestion and autoimmune stuff, like fighting cancer. We're pretty sure this is one of the reasons that stress and things like that leads to cancer. So this is not to freak you out, but you all have cancer in your body right now. That's a normal thing, and that's not a bad thing. You have cells that are growing out of control right now, and your body knows how to take care of that. You've got diseases in your body right now, all of you. I don't because I'm perfect, but the rest of you do. No, I don't. I have loads of stuff. We just do. That's how you are. You've got inactive diseases in your body, or diseases are being kept at bay by your body. Not like it's this terrible thing, but your immune system takes care of it because it's got the energy to take care of it. And it does it especially at night. When you have a good night's sleep, that's when you grow, and that's when your body fights off cancer, and that's when you rest. Because it's... Yes, go ahead.
But the point of white and red blood cells are for as well.
Sure. I would argue that parasympathetic is all about those white blood cells, right? And your body's like, I got time to make white blood cells. I've got energy to make white blood cells. Let's heal. That's the parasympathetic state. And when you're in that state, your nervous system literally tells those healing areas of your body to heal. When you're in the sympathetic state, the fight or flight state, your nervous system says, don't worry about that. I don't care about the cancer. I don't care about digesting. I care about getting away from this immediate danger. There is lots and lots of evidence to suggest that people that spend time in a reasonable amount of time in the parasympathetic state, it's okay if you get keyed up about stuff, but a reasonable amount of time in the parasympathetic state tend to not get a lot of diseases because their body heals from them. The reason this is important to massage therapists is the mere act of getting somebody to lay down on a table, take a moment for yourself. No, this is about you. This hour is for you. No, I'm going to make the massage exactly like you like. This is a calming moment for you. And I start to get them in that parasympathetic state that all this healing is occurring automatically right there. Right? I believe in all the rubbing, all the pinched nerves, all the fascial stuff, but just getting somebody into a parasympathetic state, I really, in my heart of hearts, believe that massage therapists cure cancer all the time. They just don't know.
So, do you think that it is just because they're laying down just for the hour, or because of maybe the physiological things that are taking place because you're increasing blood flow, you're relaxing them, all the sensory, things that feels good, blah, blah. Do you think it's just a combination of all of that?
Yeah, because there's a lot of nervous people that can lie down, but they're not in the parasympathetic state. Mm-hmm. But if you were my client, Miss Monreal, and I said, this time is for you, and now I'm touching you in a safe and nurturing manner, you start to get the message pretty quick that you're safe. And when you feel safe, you go into the parasympathetic state. And nurturing and working out your sore muscles and pampering and love. I'm sorry, we're in the love profession, right? And I've had clients I didn't like, but I loved them all. They all needed love, period. They do. This world does not have enough of it, and people need more of it. That puts them in the parasympathetic state, and I think a lot of healing occurs then. I mean, I am utterly, and by the way, there's lots of evidence to suggest this. Lots of evidence suggests people that can relax live longer. And so that takes us back to the sympathetic state, which Miss Petrie is kind of talking about. If you are somebody who is nervous or whatever and edgy and stuff, you're often in the sympathetic state a lot. And you're keyed up a lot. So please, if you're one of those people, please don't beat yourself up, because what you also do if you're that type of person is then you obsess about that and you become more that way. It's okay. It's not a judgment, right? And everybody in this chat room right here, I'm sure, are guilty of both these from time to time. I mean, I can get very keyed up about some stuff, right? Unreasonably so. But the point is, when I'm in that state, I'm not in a healing state. And the problem with the world we live in today, it's a beautiful world, but the problem with the world we live in today is I used to only go into the sympathetic state when I was walking across some field and saw a lion, right? The danger was right there. But now I can watch about danger all over the world. I can read dangerous comments. There's anger and hatred out there too. By the way, I think it's a beautiful world. There's beautiful people, and I think what Miss Petrie said about her neighbors is the norm. But my point is, I'm exposed to more stimulus that would put me in a sympathetic state. I can watch. My brain does not know the difference between my imagination and reality. I can watch a stressful news report, and it's as though the lion's right in front of me. And your massage room creates an environment where there isn't one of these, where it's all about them, and you get them back in the parasympathetic state. Yes, Miss Petrie.
I actually watched this movie. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. I can't even think of the name of it, but it was explaining about Google and Facebook and Instagram and all of these media sites, and how a lot of these people actually end up quitting their jobs, and they were like CEOs and such, because they came up with these ideas and then started realizing, they started thinking that it was very creative to find ways to reach out to other people, and then it started having such a negative effect that they couldn't stop. And then that became the thing, and then they admitted that we can actually reach into your brain pretty much and make you feel how we want you to feel. And all of you are buying into it.
And then show you a whole lot of ads.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Miss Petrie, you did it. I've seen the documentary. It's on Netflix right now.
Right.
You did it.
What is it called?
This.
I want to say it's called Social Dilemma. Yes, thank you, Mr. Kandaris. Social Dilemma.
Interesting.
I guess I'm pushing my own agenda here, but I would recommend watching it. What's neat about it that Miss Petrie captured really well is it's not like ex-employees of Apple and Google and Facebook that were like secretaries. It's like the ex-vice president of Google, Apple, people way high, the founders of some of these things, the founders of like buttons. Yeah.
And now these companies are being sued. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But they feel they have to because
They're
they
censoring
feel
information.
Yeah. Anyway,
this feeling of shame that we did this to people.
yeah, they're really not happy about it. And they don't let their own kids on devices and stuff like that. But anyway, to oversimplify their point, one of their things is that we get a lot of stimulus now that we used to not get. Right? And so I'm not saying this is good or bad. You have to make your own choice about that. But the point is we do get a lot of stimulus that can send us in a tailspin and put us in the sympathetic mode when the danger isn't really right there.
Of how they were talking about, we can actually make you feel how we want you to feel.
Right.
It made me kind of think of this, like somebody just pulling on wires into your mind and being like, this is how we want you to feel. We want you to recognize that.
Yeah. And I want you all to use that same knowledge in your practice for good. The way that you smile at somebody, like there are quite a few people in this class that when I see your smile alone, I kind of drop into a parasympathetic state. It's the way you smile. When Miss Nguyen does that silly smile she does when I call on her, it makes me feel more relaxed. It makes me feel better. And the way you smile at your client, I really believe, and the way that you are kind to them and accept them and don't judge them. People are so worried about being judged because we all have lots of stuff we are embarrassed about. And you don't judge them and you hug them for an hour or two, puts them in their parasympathetic state. And I can't think of a higher calling. So that's why I made this big deal about that. And Social Dilemma is a good documentary. So, the nervous system is divided into the central nervous system, which is brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which is all the other nerves. They go all over the body. The peripheral nervous system has the somatic and the autonomic. Somatic is under your control. I'm using it right now. The autonomic is not under my control. I happen to be using it right now too. It's controlling all the stuff going on inside my body, trying to get me to homeostasis. It has two operating modes. The autonomic has two autonomic operating modes. One is sympathetic, which is fight or flight, and the other one is parasympathetic, which is digest and rest. And this is not to make you paranoid when you're keyed up, but just remember you don't want to live in that state. And one of the kindest things we can do for our clients is to get them into a parasympathetic state. So, I want to just review what I just said really quick to see how we digested all that. Miss Nguyen. Miss Nguyen. Hi! We were just talking about that smile, Miss Nguyen, so thank you. Miss Nguyen, the nervous system is divided up into two other systems, and they're on the slide right now too. What are the two systems that the nervous system is divided into?
Somatic.
Yes, but go up here first. Central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Let me ask you a question. What is the central nervous system? What is the central nervous system? It's on the slide, by the way. What is the central nervous system?
Brain and the spinal cord.
Beautiful, thank you. So that's my central nervous system. It's divided up to my central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is all the other nerves. And then you were about to tell me about the two parts of the peripheral nervous system. The somatic?
The somatic
Yeah, that was good.
and
autonomic.
That was beautiful. Autonomic, yes, which is your automatic part. And then the autonomic is divided up into two more things. I'm so sorry, but two more. And that's your
Sympathetic.
yeah, sympathetic. Beautiful. And parasympathetic.
Parasympathetic.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Miss Harper.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I love it. Yes, sir. Miss Harper, your nervous system, your entire nervous system is divided up into two parts. What are those two parts?
It's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system.
Thank you. In very simple terms, what is the central nervous system?
It's the brain and spinal cord.
And what's the peripheral nervous system?
It's our nerves.
Yeah, it's all the nerves coming off that. Yes. By the way, your brain and spinal cord are nerves too, but we just mean all the little nerves coming off that, going to all over the body. Cool. The peripheral nervous system is divided up into two things. It's on the slide too.
It's the somatic and the autonomic.
Yeah. What is the autonomic nervous system? Like, what is it? What does autonomic mean?
It's like automatic. It's like involuntary.
Thank you. Beautiful. Inside stuff all in there. And what's somatic? What's the somatic nervous system controlling?
It controls the skeletal muscles. It's voluntary.
Yeah. All the stuff I just did right now. Cool. And the automatic nervous system has two subcategories underneath it. What are those called?
The sympathetic and the parasympathetic.
Cool. What is your sympathetic nervous system?
It says here, fight or flight.
Fight or flight. It's beautiful. It's fine. You can read that. And what's your parasympathetic nervous system?
Heal.
It's one that heals you. Cool. Thank you. That was beautifully done. Beautifully, beautifully done. Awesome. Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break. I want, that, there's lots more to cover, unfortunately, lots more to cover, but this was the really important kind of overarching stuff that I'd love you to remember years from now. So let's take a 5-minute break, shake it off a little bit. We'll come back and we'll continue. Okay, so when we last left, we had some riveting conversations about the nervous system. We kind of all agreed that it's wires and chemical little signals being sent. Everything has to get back to your brain. Everything goes up through your spinal cord to get back to your brain. Everything comes from your peripheral nerves to get to your spinal cord to get to your brain. Your peripheral nerves are divided up into two categories, those that are under your control and those that are not under your control. The autonomic ones are not under your control, and they take care of all the other organs in your body and all the stuff that you don't want to think about. The somatic ones take care of all the muscles that you use to become a great massage therapist. The autonomic has two automatic modes it can be in. One automatic mode it can be in is called sympathetic, which is actually fight or flight. And that's a fine mode to be in, but during that mode, you're not really doing any type of digestion or repair or fighting off anything internal. Then you've got the parasympathetic, and in the parasympathetic, by the way, you're not really ready to run or do anything, but you are ready to heal and digest and all that good stuff. Cool, cool, cool. Questions so far? Okay. All right. Can we all see the picture of the guy's brain and the spinal cord and stuff? All right. So the brain is green and the spinal cord is green. So the central nervous system is in green in this picture. The peripheral nerves are in yellow in this picture. Does that help? There's only one really big thing missing from this picture, just to let you all know, is more and more and more and more peripheral nerves. So this is a picture of your big peripheral nerves, but you have peripheral nerves going to every single little teeny weeny little millimeter of your body. So the whole body would just be yellow if they showed all the peripheral nerves. And I really mean that. If you could just remove all my stuff from my body and just see my nerves, all you would see is like a plant. Like I've said, when you pull the plant out of the pot and you haven't put it in a new pot soon enough, and all you see is roots, that's your nervous system, because you have to have nerves everywhere. So you have, these are just big peripheral nerves here. You've got tiny peripheral nerves everywhere, every little millimeter of your body. And not just a couple going to every millimeter of your body, thousands going to every millimeter of your body. So there'd be a lot more yellow in this picture, like all of it. Okay. So I said that you would have some connective tissue in your nervous system. And you've got some connective tissue called neuroglia. It doesn't carry the impulse or anything like that. Its job is to insulate. It is the, when you get a wire and it's got plastic coating around it? In this case, in this analogy, the plastic coating is your neuroglia. It's meant to insulate the wire, protect the wire, keep the wire safe, make the electricity inside the wire conduct better and move faster. In your body, it's actually meant to carry the blood and all that kind of stuff to nourish, the nerve and such. But it's connective tissue that protects and wraps around your nerves. That's it. It's called neuroglia. As a massage therapist, it's important you know it exists, but you're never going to be actually knowledgeably touching the neuroglia. I just wanted you to be aware of it. I'm sure your book will ask you about it. Let me go back one. Sorry, hold on. Good. Okay. Good. Sorry, I just want to make sure I didn't miss telling you guys something that I wanted to tell you. This connective tissue can actually form some sheaths around your kind of some fatty insulation around your nerves. And the one you're going to hear about the most is called myelin. Myelin sheaths help insulate nerves in a way that actually help increase their conduction rate, makes the wires work better. Myelin sheaths make the wires work better. And when you have a nerve cell, that was terrible. That's terrible too. Let's just do this. If you have a nerve cell, this is a nerve cell. You've got these, don't worry, I'm going to show you a better picture of this, but you've got these branches coming off it. You've got branches on one side called dendrites and branches on the other side called axions. These guys pick up stimulus either from the outside world or from another nerve talking to it. That's very common. Then they send an impulse down here, down this axion thing, and the myelin sheaths are around here like this. Now it's weird that they wouldn't insulate the entire axion, but as far as we can tell, and by we I mean people much smarter than me, this actually speeds up your nerve impulses. It's amazing how fast information runs down your nerves. And it needs to run down your nerves fast, right? Have you ever been chopping something and you know while you're cutting yourself, like, I gotta stop. I mean, you prevent yourself from chopping your whole finger off because your nerves run really fast. They're like, oh my gosh, something's going on. So they have to fire really fast. And for some reason, this insulation helps the message run faster, but also this space between insulations, the message kind of jumps over those and helps it move even faster. And this gap right here, this gap is called a node of Ranvier. I think it's French. Ranvier. I don't think you pronounce the R. Nodes of Ranvier. And it's only important from the point of view that this all has to do with why your nerves fire so fast. So, you've got a big nerve cell with these dendrites that sense stuff from the outside world or get a message from another axion coming to them, talking to it. I'll show you a better picture in a second. You've got this wire coming out of it. It's all part of the nerve cell. You've got these myelin sheaths around here. And they help speed up the nerve signal there. And those little gaps between those little compartments are called nodes of Ranvier. I don't have anything else interesting to say about that. We are not going to worry about white and gray matter, thank goodness. Here's a good picture, by the way. Can we all see the blue cell body? Those are the dendrites out on that end. And we see the axion there. And we see the myelin sheaths are myelin sheaths are in yellow. And the little spaces between them are the nodes of Ranvier. And signals come from the cell body down those yellow things all the way over to, for example, that pink stuff over there is supposed to be muscle fibers. Now, by the way, at the end of that thing, instead of muscle fibers, could have been another nerve. So I want to be very clear about that. These dendrites could have another axion talking to them. This could be a whole chain. Just to be really clear, you could have a nerve cell with these dendrites talking to another nerve cell. The wiring all has to hook together. So one nerve cell talks to another nerve cell. The real point is the direction. It goes from picking stuff up in the dendrites here to going down the axion. It goes in that direction. And that is a neuron. It is the nerves that make up your nervous system. Neurons. And essentially neurons make up your entire nervous system, including your brain. Your entire nervous system is a whole lot of these things talking to each other, wired together. In your brain, they can actually change their associations, and that's why you think in certain ways and such. But neurons are nerve cells that make up your nervous system. Just like muscle fibers were muscle cells that make up your muscular system. Neurons are nerve cells that make up your nervous system. Dendrites transfer information to the cell, and the cell sends it down the axion and sends it away. That's it. The dendrites, yeah, go ahead, please.
So aren't there neurons in your gut? And then that's kind of even why they say to go with your gut. You know, we have, maybe that's our little ESP neuron thing. I don't know. But isn't there neurons in the gut?
Yes, there are neurons in the gut. I really like the direction you're taking this, by the way. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we kind of think we live up here, right? That all my thinking goes on up here. But you've got a very complicated nervous system, especially in your gut and such. In fact,
Is that why they say gut health is really important?
well, gut health, they say, is really important, usually for a different reason. I'll explain that in 1 second. But yes, there are nerves in your gut, and some people question whether those don't send signals back to your brain, and don't they work too? And is where the phrase "go with your gut" comes from. The concept that other parts of your body might be doing the thinking. It is a very Western idea to think you live up here. In the Western world, we tend to think we live up here and the rest of my body is a vehicle. And we kind of behave that way. In other parts of the world, that's not always true. People kind of interpret their personality or their person living in their entire body. And they exist in their big toe, which is not a very American idea. Where I kind of think my big toe is just my big toe and I'm here. This is me. Anyway, yeah, so there's some evidence to suggest that your gut does learn too, and when you get a gut instinct, it really is, yes, just that. It really is learning, and it's talking back to your brain, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we get a little bit further in here, but you're absolutely right. Gut health, Miss Petrie, is super important because you don't actually, we'll get to this when we get to the digestive system, but you don't actually eat, and you don't actually fart. And you don't actually poop in some ways. What happens is you take stuff into your body and it goes into your gut, and the biome in there, which is a whole mixture of bacteria, healthy bacteria, is what eats your food, breaks it down into small enough amounts for you to utilize. You didn't do it, it did it. And when you fart, it's not you farting, it's your bacteria farting, giving off its gas. And I guess when you poop, you're kind of pooping. But the point is, it's your gut health is that mixture of bacteria inside your gut that actually digests your food for you. And if you don't have the right bacteria in there, it's a problem. Gut health is really, really important, yeah. In fact, some people there's certain illnesses they get with gut health, and they don't have the right bacteria in them, and they can't seem to form the right bacteria. And I'm not kidding, they'll have a fecal transplant. They'll actually take poop from the mom, and those might sound gross, but put it in the person that's got it. Like I said the mom because it's often a kid or something, to make sure they get the right gut bacteria in them. Koalas, cute little koalas. Koalas eat eucalyptus leaves. Well, eucalyptus leaves, in fact, koalas smell like eucalyptus. They eat so much eucalyptus leaves, by the way. But the eucalyptus leaves are very hard to digest. They need a particular type of bacteria that can break them down, and the mom has that bacteria. And when she gives birth to her little baby, she purposely feeds it some of her poop to make sure it gets the bacteria inside it that it needs to digest eucalyptus leaves. Yes. Yeah. Kind of glad my mom did not do that, but I can't digest.
It's really smart, though. I mean,
really smart. Yeah.
Naturally do it.
Yeah.
It's a smart animal for.
Yep. Or an intelligent system you live within. Yes. But yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that. So again, this is a really good picture. I put a big blue arrow on here just to let you know the direction that information goes. It gets picked up by the dendrites, goes to the cell body, goes down the axon. I always call it axon, through these myelin sheaths, over these nodes of Ranvier, down to either connect up with another cell and its dendrites or to a muscle and tell it what to do. So this is just the way your nerve wires look. They're very, very fancy wires. Very, very fancy wires. We're not going to worry about any of that. They classify these wires as two different types, afferent and efferent. So, the way you can keep these separate in your brain is afferent are going towards your central nervous system. So they are they are nerves that happen after a stimulus. So I get a stimulus, this pen hits my finger, an afferent nerve after that stimulus takes that information up to my brain, and my brain says, maybe we're getting hit by a pen. Efferent is a signal coming from my brain that says, let's put out some effort and pull the finger away so we quit getting hit by the pen. Afferent picked up the signal. Efferent told me to pull my finger, sent a signal to tell my muscle to pull my hand away. Afferent is after a sensory impulse. It goes up back to my central nervous system. Efferent is my central nervous system saying, we need to produce some effort here and do something. So my muscles are run essentially by my efferent system, right? My efferent nerves that are telling it to like make effort. My skin right now is feeling through my afferent system. This feeling, the only reason I know I'm stroking my face is because that signal is getting sent to my brain, and my brain's like, oh, I feel sensation on the fingers and I feel sensation on my face. He must be stroking his face again like he does every time he makes this example. And they're just terms. For where we're at in anatomy, they're just terms. Cool? Kind of cool, maybe cool. So, here's the cool thing. This black pen is not a good one. All right, I'm going to get rid of that one. Here's a picture of Mr. Tapscott. Looks almost identical to me. If I do something to this finger, let's say light it on fire or whatever, that signal needs to go down my arm to my spinal cord, up to my brain. My brain needs to interpret that dee-dee-dee-dee-dee signal and say, that seems pretty bad. I think he should pull his hand away. It needs to send a signal back down my spine, out to my finger and say, pull the finger away. So let me say this again. Let's suppose I am holding my hand over an open flame because I am an idiot. Okay? After that sensation, an afferent nerve, a whole bunch of afferent nerves, will take that signal down my arm, up my neck, in my spinal cord, in my brain. My brain will say, oh my gosh, that seems like a problem. He's done it again. We need to send him a signal to move that finger. It'll take an efferent nerve, a whole bunch of efferent nerves come back here and say, move that. That takes a while. Now, we're fast. It's amazing how quickly I feel this. But even when I do this, I have to think, oh, yeah, like maybe I should stop doing this and I should pull my hand away. So your body is really smart. And it says if enough of the nociceptors, which I haven't told you what those are, but they're pain receptors, if enough of those things get triggered at once, I'm going to assume that something really bad is happening. And I'm going to have a reflex, or reflexive arc, they call it. And what that reflex does is it says, I pick up this signal on my afferent thing, I get to my spinal column, and my spinal column says, send back a signal to move. It doesn't even get to my brain. Now it does later, right? I know later that I burned myself. But have you ever done something and you reacted so fast that you just almost didn't comprehend it? If you touch something really, really hot, please don't try this at home, but if you touch something really, really hot, yes, a hot signal goes to your brain, but before that signal even gets there, your spine sends back a signal to pull back your hand. You have to consciously override it. That's a reflex or reflexive arc. The reflexive arc is just this nerve that goes to your spine and comes back. It's meant to cut down the amount of time it takes to pull your darn hand away when you do something stupid. It's your body saying, I don't even think we need to take time to interpret what this is. We're going to move away from it and then figure out what it is. So with small stimulus, this doesn't feel great, but it's not enough. It's not hitting enough nociceptors for me to make an immediate decision about it. And so these signals are going up to my head. I'm thinking about it and I'm sending them back down. But if this was more severe, if I went bam, I would naturally pull back. And yes, one signal would be going up to my head going, what the heck? But another signal would have just gone to my spinal cord. My spinal cord would have said, pull back. There's a natural pull away from pain when enough pain receptors get hit. It just fires it off. And that's called a reflex arc. It's a reflex. It's an automatic thing that you can't even, you can override, by the way. You can teach yourself not to pull away, but why would you want to? And it's a reflex arc. That nerve is in a loop to help save you the milliseconds it takes for it to get up to your brain and come back down. That's what it's for. It's a safety mechanism. So most pain you receive, you think about for milliseconds, and then you send a signal to do something about. But really severe stuff, your body just sends a message to pull away, which is really helpful. Because there's some things you don't want to think about. Like you want to think about afterwards, but you want to just pull away from really severe stuff before you die. Like with burns. You can really get burned really bad, really fast. But usually your reflexive arc hits so fast that you pull back and all you get is a blister. Another millisecond or two, and you might actually burn through flesh and have an open wound, and that can be really, really serious. So it's a reflex arc. Does that make sense? It's just a shorter path. You're still got the path going to the brain. You still know what's happened. But this thing makes you move even quicker. Yep. Oh, this is actually a pretty good picture of a reflex arc. The point is it doesn't even actually get to the brain. By the way, other nerves still send signals to the brain that say, ouch, this feels like I'm burning. But long before those even get there, you get the pullback signal from the spine saying, no, we're not even taking this upstairs, right? It'd just be like if something happened like here at school. Like let's say this room started getting kind of warm. I might go talk to my boss, the brain, about like, hey, the classroom's getting warm. What should we do about that? Let's say I hear a shooter in the school. I'm not going to go talk to my boss. I'm going to take action immediately. That's what this, I'm sorry for such a terrible analogy, but that's what this reflex arc does. It's an immediate, let's get stuff going. Yes. I've got to think of much more pleasant analogies, but anyway. So remember how a muscle fiber was just a muscle cell? Muscle fiber is just a muscle cell. And I never said this, but it's totally true. If you put a whole bunch of muscle cells or muscle fibers together, you get a muscle. Like this is a whole bunch of muscle fibers. This isn't just one, right? Well, if you put a whole bunch of nerves together, you get a nerve bundle. A bundle of wires. Because they're all going off to different places and stuff like that. The spinal cord is a big nerve bundle. It's a bundle of nerve fibers. Right? Now, they call the spinal cord a nerve tract, but it's a nerve bundle. And then all the bundles that come off, and they go into smaller bundles and smaller bundles and smaller bundles and smaller bundles until finally they're down to a single nerve that goes to the tip of your finger or the tip of your nose or whatever. I just want to point out, nerve cells are nerve fibers, and you start packing all those fibers together and you got a really thick wire, right? Because it's got to go off to a whole bunch of places. That's a nerve bundle. Don't overthink it. Please don't overthink it. It really is what it says. It's a bundle of wires. Now, I think it's kind of interesting that there is fascia around these bundles, just like there was fascia around the muscles. Yeah? How do I want to do this? Yeah, I'm going to have to do it down here. Is it ner? It's nurium, right? Mycium means muscle. Nurium means nerve. What was the top layer of fascia around the muscles called? Anybody? It's like the top layer of skin.
Epimysium?
Epimysium. And then, what was the next layer?
Paramycium?
Yep. And then
endomycium?
yep. What do you suppose the top layer of nerve covering is?
Whatever, neurism?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Epinurium.
Epinurium?
Perinurium. Endonurium. This is the nice part about anatomy. The unnice part is all these terms, all that kind of stuff, but the nice part is actually a lot of it repeats. So I've got skin, remember? Epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. But I've got epimysium, paramycium, endomysium. I've got epidurium, epinurium, perinurium, and endonurium. It's the same thing, same concept. Endonurium is around that last fiber. It's the last layer. Just like endomysium was around the last single fiber of muscle. So what, and this makes sense, by the way. Remember, your nerves are wires. You've got to wrap them in plastic. Otherwise, they'll talk to other wires. You don't want them doing that. Just like electrical wire. Then you take a whole bunch of those wires, you wrap them in more plastic. They're all individually wrapped, but then you wrap them in perinurium, and then you take big ones, and you wrap them, all those perinurium bundles, in epinurium. Does that make sense? I hope. Good. Seeing some nods. That makes me happy.
So is the plastic fascia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you. It is fascia. It's connective tissue. It's fascia. Yeah. Fascia everywhere. Makes me so happy. Just letting you absorb this picture for a second. But you can see the epinurium, perinurium, endonurium. Yay. And a single muscle fiber in there. And all those fibers go into different places. So, I've already said this, what's on this slide in my opinion. Neurons, which are nerve cells, which are nerve fibers. Neurons, which are nerve cells, which are also nerve fibers, just different ways of talking and thinking about it, transmit nerve impulses, electrical impulses, to other neurons, other pieces of wire, or to muscles, or to glands. They either tell muscles what to do, or glands to release some hormone, or other nerves to go off and tell something to somebody else somewhere. They transmit an electrical signal along the way. Now, eventually that electrical signal might get changed into a chemical signal, but they transmit their wires. They transmit an electrical signal along them. That's what they do. I mean, that's a pretty darn accurate way to look at the nervous system, especially for our needs. And those wires can get interrupted. I don't want you to spend a lot of brain power on this, but you need to know some really basic kind of stuff. you have charged particles in your body. We talked about calcium ions when it came to your muscles. And these charged particles can cause a polarization, an imbalance. And that imbalance is actually how your nerves run electricity through them. And so you use sodium and potassium in your nerve cells to control how ionized they are. Because one of those has a positive charge, one has a negative charge. We don't need to understand the chemistry at all. But you actually in your nerves have a sodium-potassium pump that makes sure they stay in a certain state so they're ready to run electricity through them. And once they run electricity through them, they have to kind of reset. And that's what your sodium-potassium pump does. It keeps your nerves polarized and ready to run electricity through them. And your whole body kind of works this way. Like your muscles have to have the calcium ions pumped into them to make the sarcomeres contract. That's why I don't want you to spend a lot of time on it. But can you see, by the way, why it's important to have sodium and potassium in your body? You ever heard of people talking about replenishing their electrolytes after an athletic event? These are electrolytes. Sodium and potassium are electrolytes. Sodium is not one we worry about so much in our society because we have sodium in everything. But if you're low on sodium and potassium, your nerves don't fire as well. And there are electrolytes that help your nerves fire because they help this polarization, this kind of offset thing that keeps your nerves reactive and conductive. And your nerves, just like, remember your muscles? Remember your muscles, they either pull or they don't? Remember that? My whole muscle might not be pulling right now, but whatever fibers I'm using to lift this pen, they're pulling 100%. Remember, muscle fibers, they pull all or nothing. They do not half-ass it. They give all or nothing. And they're pulling this thing. Right now, they're probably honestly using about 25, maybe 50 fibers to do this. Believe it or not, it takes, but they're pulling all out. But it's just those 50 fibers, and there's probably 2 million in here. Anyway, nerves work the same way. Nerves are either on or off. It's like a light switch. There's no dimmer. That's just called the all or nothing response. Don't overthink it. It literally is like a wire that with a light switch thing on it. It's either on or off. The nerve either fires or it doesn't. So the nerve going to that muscle fiber either fires all the way and tells the muscle fiber to fire all the way, or it does not. That's it. That's just what it does. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to stop right there because I have to give you guys a little tiny assignment for tomorrow to think about. And